How's it going, people? Today, I have a different kind of video. As you can see, I am not sitting in a kayak, and I am not floating around in Puget Sound anymore. I'm out in Hawaii right now, diving on Oahu. And today, as you can see, it's pretty murky, and the conditions are definitely pretty rough. It's swelly, and I'm really not looking for anything special. I'm just looking to get some meat in the fridge. So I get down to the bottom, and it's pretty murky. And right here and here are two of my target fish. Those are both Inanuis, and in my experience, they're pretty easy fish to shoot, which is why I like shooting them so much. They get pretty big, which means there's a lot of meat on them, and personally, I like the taste. It kind of reminds me of chicken. Drop down another time here. Kind of get situated on this rock, take a look around, tuck my fins in so I don't get blown around by the swell. I'm only in like 20 feet of water here, so the swell, which today is pretty bad, is extra bad because, again, I'm in pretty shallow water. Looking around, nothing comes in, so I go back up for some air. Another drop. And what I'm doing right here, and what I kind of do to hunt these Inanuis, is they always seem to like to stay up in like real shallow water, like 8 to 5 feet of water. And I'm kind of just hanging off of the side of this coral down, you know, in like 10 feet of water, and I'm looking up into the shallow, making grunt noises, trying to attract these fish to come over and check me out, but nothing on this dive. Dropping down once more. And again, just peering back up and over onto the shallow side of the reef. But still a whole lot of nothing. And I'm like, surely there's nothing here. And right as I come up, boom, whole school of Inanuis coming right into me. And you see, when I break my head above the water, you can see how windy and just kind of choppy it is out there. And from now, it's only gonna get worse. So I take another drop, and I decided to kind of move off the edge of the reef down a little bit deeper, again to like 18 feet of water, and maybe being a little bit farther away will get them a little more curious. There's a big school of kalas that comes in and checks me out, and I was thinking about shooting one of these, and I'm deciding that if they pop back out over here, I'm gonna shoot one, and there's my target fish, in and out, gone. The thing about the Inanuis is they never stop swimming and they never stop moving, so it's kind of not a chance shot, but you got to time it up and line it up correctly for when they swim in front of you to be able to shoot at the right moment. And like I mentioned earlier, the swell is pretty bad where I am right now. And you can see I'm trying to hold my gun still here, but it's getting pushed and smacking up against coral heads. I'm also having to hold with my other hand, hold myself to the rocks pretty hard, which is burning up a lot of my excess oxygen, which I should be using to hold my breath. So, not the best diving conditions, but I decided that since it's so swelly and so kind of rough up shallower on the reef, I'm just going to try to dive down in the deeper sections, kind of like this here, and get in between the rocks and just wedge myself in there. That way when the swell does come, it doesn't push me around quite as much, and I can use a little less energy and stay down a little longer. So as you can see by these last couple dives, it's pretty dead out here. I mean, a couple Inanuis when I first jumped in, that one big school of Inanuis which seems to have disappeared, a palani off in the background, but just one, so not really seeing too much. Of course, the murk doesn't help, but I just decided to swim around and look for some fish, and then right before I take this drop, I just happen to see this nice school of palanis off to the right side of the screen, and kind of rushed my breathe up and rushed the drop. Didn't have a good place to drop, so just landed right on top of the coral, you know, right out in the open, no cover at all, and you'll see the big school of palanis come in, kind of doing their in and outs. They'll swim in a circle and kind of check you out, and then swim back out and cruise back in a little bit, but they never get close enough for me to get a shot. And I think that's just because I'm laying fully exposed out on the rock. They can see my whole body, and they're just not sure. They're curious as to what I am, but they're not interested in coming over and checking me out any closer than this. So I decide, let me go breathe up and let me try to drop in a better spot and get one of these palanis. And because it's so murky out here, as I'm dropping, I have no idea where that school went. So I think they're somewhere off to the right side of my screen. And as I come down, I look up, and boom, they're to the left of me. Again, super close. I mean, they're just out of range here. And I'm trying to scratch on the reef, you can hear me, and kick up a little sand and dust and make some kind of disturbance so that they get more curious and come over to me. And I almost take a shot on one of them here. That one right there. But they're so kind of relaxed and calm, I know that they're going to come in and give me a better shot. So I back out, go up for air, and try it one more time. So I'm coming down, third time's the charm, and I think that school of palanis is going to be off to the left side of the screen. That's where they were last time, but because it's so murky, I lost them again. So I come down, look over to my left, where they were, and now there's a big school of kalas sitting right where they were. And again, I'm thinking about shooting one of these guys, so I pull the gun over there. But I just happen to take a peek over to my right, and boop, I see a palani, which means I know the school is sitting over there behind me. I swing that big gun around over the rock, and I see the school, so I kind of dip below the rock, hide myself, and boom, they all come in and check me out, take a lunge. Perfect shot on this nice fat palani. And now I got some meat. Anytime I shoot a fish, the first thing I do is brain it and then bleed it. Braining is for the fish. It puts them out of their misery. Nothing should have to suffer after you've put a spear through it. And then the bleeding is for meat. It preserves the quality of the meat, and if anybody has ever complained about a very fishy taste or smell to their meat, it's most likely because they didn't bleed their fish. And all of that blood that you see gushing out of the fish stays in the fish and kind of just makes the meat a little sour. But you can see it's all gushing out there. Reload the spear gun. Get all my lines in order. With all palanis, I always cut off these little, like, spikes you see on their tail. That one's broken off on that side. And then I also take off the dorsal fin because it's just a line of spikes on top of there. And that's because when I put the fish on my belt kui, I'll like wrap that around my waist and it'll be just on my back floating around as I swim, and I don't want the spikes on both the tail and the dorsal fin flopping around and stabbing me in the legs or in the butt, because I've had it happen before and it sucks. But there he is on the kui. Once he's all dealt with, I'll get the gun bands reloaded. And now we're back to hunting. Taking this next drop, kind of the same deal, just getting down in between the rocks, trying to hide from the swell. And I look up to my right, and there are two more palanis cruising by. So I stretch out and hit this one with the spiral. But got another good fish. And this is plenty of meat for me. So once again, always, anytime I get a fish, brain and bleed. And remove the pokers. And after that drop, as you'll see right here, I'm getting ready to breathe up for my next drop and get smacked with a white cap. It has gotten significantly rougher than when I came out. When I first started diving, there were white caps like way off in the distance, you know, like 100, 200 yards offshore. Now those white caps have moved into where I am, which is like 50 yards offshore. And it's gusting like 15 knots with, you know, hard gusts up to 20, 30 miles an hour. The waves are really starting to pick up and the swell is really starting to pick up. So I take one more drop and this nice Gulaveke comes in. I line up on this one and pop him. And with that, that is more than enough meat for me for the week. As I come up, you'll see kind of some of the rough waters that I'm talking about. There's white caps out in the distance, and just generally it's a lot more choppy than when I first got in. And I look over, who do I see but Mr. Monk Seal, checking out the fish I caught, throwing the shaka, make sure he doesn't eat me, and then brain the fish, bleed the fish, so here I am back in the shallows after my quick swim in, and I'm just gonna real quickly gut and gill all of these fish, remove all the stinky insides from them here while I'm in the water. That way I don't have to do it when I get back home. All I have to do when I get home is fillet them up into nice meat chunks and put them in the freezer. And I also like doing this in the water because all of the scraps and kind of entrails that you would normally just toss in the garbage can and that would stink up your garbage can, I can just dump into the water. I know they'll get eaten by, all the other fish in the water, so I'm not wasting, anything off the fish. The bones and the head of the fish I will freeze and I'll keep for chum later on another spearfishing trip, so I try to use every bit of the fish that I can. But with that, take the fins off, and it's time to head out.